Hello, it's Mags back again. I'm just going to do a quick video. I always say they're quick and they always end up about half an hour, but you can fast forward if you want. I created this art journal page using scraps of a background paper or something that I'd used to mop up inks, and it turned out rather nicely. I put these Tim Holtz ephemera bits on the top just to finish it off. Part way through the process it was looking different to this, and I actually liked it, but I wanted to go a bit further, so I continued on with it. But I want to do one that looks a little similar to the part way through process. So I've done another one using a similar process, which is this one, and I'm going to leave that at this stage because I like this. It's paler and it's got a lot of interest in it. I'll do some stamping on it and I'll put a focal point on it, but I wanted to just show you how I created it because it's quite simple and it's quite good for using up scraps. So I don't want another one straight after this in my book, so I'll go further on in the book. So these little bits are a bit annoying. They come in the journal. Sometimes I take them off because they are so very annoying. They're easy, you can just pull them out. Whoops. That's it. The right way around. Right, so we've got a new page. I'll put those on when the journal's full. So I'm going to put a piece of paper underneath here. Let's make sure we're in shot. Yeah. Yes, we are in shot. So that's just to protect the underneath pages and everything else. Set that aside for the minute. I've got this, which was actually the page that I mopped up the ink from the previous two pages. I press it on, you'll see later, so that it mops up the ink, and then I get nice interesting patterns, and it's the start of another journal page. So what I'm going to do is just put my journal out of the way for the minute. Use my ruler, and because the elements will be linear, I'm just going to trim the edges off. I'm not discarding those because I probably will use them. I might need to be a little thinner. And I just do this by eye, I don't measure. And then this bit's got quite a lot of linear elements. So I'm just going to tear it up. Doesn't matter which way you do it. I'm going to try and have a little bit of interest on each piece. This is fairly dark, so I'm going to cut it into smaller pieces because it's quite dark. I don't want it in big chunks with it being dark. So we've got all our strips. So I'll set those aside. I've got my Yoo-Hoo glue stick. And it does get a bit sticky, does this process, but back to my journal. I've got my journal page, and basically just randomly I tend to go everywhere to set off with my Yoo-Hoo on the page, and then just start and randomly bits on. If I've got any straight edges, I tend to go on the edges with the straight edges. You will get quite a lot of glue on your fingers, but it doesn't really matter. I tend to not want them to go from one side to the other completely, so I just tear them as I'm going along. I put the biggest pieces on first. If there's any that I think aren't going to have glue on. I just put extra glue on. And as I say, I put the biggest pieces on first. Let's have a look. We're still in shot. Yeah. Keep pulling it down because it tends to move up. Dark bit on this corner. Because we're using a glue stick, we get a bit of wiggle room. And as I say, we just overlap them. Let's see, we've got put the pale bits over there. Whoops, that's a big bit of glue. Sometimes I go off the edge. Like that. And I try overlap dark on light. And light on dark. Right there. Let's have a look, we need a pale bit. Got quite a dark area here, so we want a bit of a pale bit. Yes, that's a better bit. Don't have to always go up to the top, as long as we're overlapping some pieces. And the more overlapping, the better, because it gives you texture. Let's have a look. Have a dark bit over there. Check in, make sure we're in shot. Let's see. I quite like the fact that we've got little white edges that are quite distinct. So we'll have the white edges over the dark bits, and then the dark bits over the light.
say, we'll go off the edge, but we'll also have a dark bit there, up there, with a white bit over the dark. Just have to come down a little bit, don't want to be off the page. Right, we'll get in there, we've nearly used it all up, we've got a few bits left. Right, so we'll just trim these little bits off. As I say, we'll keep those because we might end up putting them on. I need another mid-tone bit there, because it's a little dark there, so that just breaks that bit up. And we need, I think, a little bit off the edge here. Actually, that little bit will do because it's already cut. No, it won't, it's the wrong colour. There we are. That's better. We'll have that little bit off because I need to see where that wants to go. Don't think about it too much, but if you see an area that wants work, just add a little bit in. That's it. A little bit up there, I think. And then we're about done. And we've nearly used all our scraps up. A little bit of pale up there to break that white bit up, and I think I keep saying we're nearly there. That's it. I think we've got something going off at all the edges. We've got most of the areas covered. I've got some more white, but I don't think we really need that. No, I don't think we need that. So I've only got these 3 little strips left, so that's quite good. I'll give it a quick blast with my heat gun. Doesn't matter if it's not completely dry, because sometimes if the gesso goes over the top of some of the glue, it makes an interesting effect. I think that just needs a little bit of glue underneath there, or else when I scrape the gesso on, it will lift a little. So that's it. Right. So I've got my gesso
Sorry, I keep having to make sure we're in shot. For some reason I keep going out of shot. I've got my gesso, which we're getting to the end of this little container full. But there's just enough left, I think. And then I've got, you could use a credit card. I'm using, shall I get my bigger spatula? This is actually for icing cakes, but I actually use it for this. Make sure my underneath paper is well and truly to the top. And then we're just going to scrape it on. Don't think about it, as I say, just be quite random. First time I did this, I didn't put much on, but I discovered that actually it looks better with a lot more. It makes it more cohesive and it blends it more. And then when we do the next step, it looks really nice. If there's any little bits that you think need a bit more, just get it on the end. You see how it's making it look more cohesive and it blends it all so it doesn't look like separate strips anymore. Oops, we got a bit of gesso. And a blob of gesso. We don't want a blob of gesso. Right. So I'll just wipe that off. I'll just pop that just up there to dry a little bit while we just mop this up, or else we'll get it all over the journal. And I keep those baby wipes and use them for all sorts of things. Right, so we've got that. I'll just give it a quick blast again. And some of the spray inks do transfer to the top there. Well, that's quite nice. You get quite a nice effect. Oh, I was wondering whether to leave it at that. See, I really quite like that as it is. So do we leave it at that, or do we go a bit further? Ooh, I'm not sure. I quite like that. I'll show you the next step, because that's what I did with the previous one. So now we need a sheet of either thick copy paper or just plain white paper. Let's have a look and see what colour we'll do. We'll go with this, which is Golden Sands Infusions diluted with water and made into a spray. These little bottles are from Paper Arts, and they're brilliant because they have this little arrow on the top, so you always know where your sprayer is. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a blitz, and then press this on the top. And I need to take it off fairly quick, because if your gesso's wet it will still stick. You see, that's nice. This is lovely. Again. And again. So we've got this as the start of the next one. Again, we'll just tidy that up and then we don't get it everywhere. Otherwise I end up with spray ink absolutely everywhere. Right, so that looks quite nice, but you can add a little bit more interest by just giving it a spray with some water. And because the gesso acts as a resist, the inks pool on the top and make these really nice painterly marks, which you can then dry and they look really cool. If you want, before it's completely dry, you can go over the top again with your piece of paper, which will pick up a little bit and leave some paler areas. If you want more pale, I haven't got much water in that sprayer. What we'll do is we'll get my fan brush. Just going to dip it in some clean water. Splash it on a bit more. Dab it on again. That lifts some more up, but it gives us paler areas and a bit more interest. So you can basically keep going until you're happy. That's quite nice. Must admit, I sort of like it. I wish I'd stopped, but sometimes you just have to keep going. What I am going to do, because I think I want it paler, I'm going to go back over with my gesso again. Let's see if there's any gesso left in here. Just about. And again. And this will pick up some of the ink and it will pick the goldy colour up, but it will still also be lighter. And I always go vertical and horizontal because I like the linear effect. There we are. I'm really quite liking the pale look now, and it gives it more depth. That's it, it needed a bit more just there. That's better. I'm happy with that now. So we'll leave that to dry. See how much colour comes through from the inks. And then I'll show you the finished piece. Right, it's dry. And I really, really like this. Hope you can see some of the detail. It's got some nice dark bits, but it's nice and pale actually. It's come out quite nice and pale. I'm going to add a bit of stamping because I really like this stamp from Paper Artsy. It's designed by Seth Apter, and I love the grid, but the rough grid. So I'm going to use that along with my Distress Archival ink in Vintage Photo, because I don't want it to be too bold. I don't want it to be dark. And I'm just going to do a bit of freestyle stamping. Yeah, I think this will be just ideal. Just here and there, just to add a bit of interest. And sometimes I will do second generation stamping. In some places. But you see, this just adds a bit of interest to it. You'll wonder what this line is. Because it's a grid, it's got straight lines. I tend to always put a line so that I know it's straight, because it infuriates me if it isn't straight. Right, yeah, I think that's just enough. It adds some interest without being too much. Because I'm stamping onto gesso, that won't dry immediately. So what I'm going to do is lay that on and press again. Because then any surplus ink will come onto here. Yeah, so I get some nice interest on here as well. So we've got this sheet, which is the beginning of another journal page possibly. But we've also got this page, which is the start of one of my journal pages. I'll probably ink the edges with, let's see, not black. Yeah, ground espresso, I think we'll do it. Just to frame it. And just vignette it a little bit by going in the corners. Right, yeah, I think that'll do. So we've got that. We've got the spray ink. We've got my stamp from Seth Apter, which is EM75 is the stamp from Seth Apter and Paper Artsy. And then my gesso is Pebeo Acrylics gesso. It's my favourite one. And that's it basically. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you give it a go.